Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox. I'm the Compliance Evangelist, and I would like to welcome you to a special 5-part podcast series entitled How Tech Informs Compliance to Create Business Efficiency. In this 5-part podcast series, I had the chance to speak with the team at GAN, including Thomas Sehested, founder and CEO of GAN, Valerie Charles, Chief Strategy Officer of GAN, and Peter Chang, Head of Customer Service. GAN offers a one-stop shop for compliance technology. Before I interviewed them, I really had no idea that the platform was as comprehensive as it is. They have a truly connected platform that is transforming the way compliance teams function. GAN has an interesting story, having started as a compliance consultancy in Europe in 2004. During their work with global organizations, they realized there was an opportunity to create a new type of technology platform, and they have done just that. Today, GAN works with top companies across the globe and is growing rapidly. They're thinking about compliance in a whole new light, solving critical problems the industry has had for years. I enjoyed getting to know the GAN team better, and I hope you do too. For more information on GAN, check out their website, www.ganintegrity.com. Over this podcast series, we will consider how the effective use of technology can drive not only a more effective operationalized compliance program, but make your business more efficient. Check out GAN's website, our sponsor for this podcast series, for more information. In this part 4, I visit with Peter Chang, Head of Customer Success at GAN, on GAN's approach to customer success and how it acts towards continuous improvement of a best practices, fully operationalized compliance program. Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox, and I am back for another episode in How Tech Informs Compliance to Create Business Efficiency. Today, I have with me Peter Chang. Peter is a head of customer success at GAN Integrity. Peter, first of all, thank you for taking the time to visit with me today.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Tom.
Peter, when I talk to chief compliance officers or even hear them speak at events, they always emphasize that execution is where the rubber meets the road. That is where they are judged, perhaps for a compensation basis, but also it's how they're judged internally in their organizations. Do they execute upon their compliance program? And it seems to me that really you're uniquely suited to see how that would work and help compliance officers do that. So I wanted to ask, what do you see as some of the biggest hurdles facing compliance teams today?
Well, that's a great point, Tom. And I would definitely agree with you on that. Execution is, the other half or 50% of the program. And, we spend a lot of time here at GAN focused on implementation, but that's only part of it. Once the program is live and in place, there's a ton of work that's required to fully execute and execute properly. So, I can give you an example where, we have customers where they have, metrics and they need to close cases within 60 days, 70 days, 80 days. And in order to fulfill those SLAs, they need to be able to, go into the system and be able to report on things and have these metrics set up for their execution. Making sure that people are doing the things that they need to, investigators are doing the things that they need to, and closing out the cases as required by their SLA programs. In order to meet those deadlines, they must continuously revisit those points and making sure that they're executing properly.
If you were sitting across the table from someone like myself, who as a compliance professional came from general counsel's office. I'm a lawyer, have a legal training, really have no tech background. I can usually type in Word, but that may be the extent of it. What would you really suggest someone like myself look for in a technological solution, and then maybe take it up to someone in that same position who's more sophisticated than just a word processing aficionado like myself?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things, and technology has come a long way, especially in this area of compliance. So, the ability to automate a lot of the things that people tend to do, in previous years, is something that I would definitely preach for anybody that's in the space to be able to do. Not only would it help with keeping things consistent, be able to have real measurable data with an automated program, but it just makes things easier. Compliance programs these days are just about every compliance program that we see, they're understaffed. There's always resourcing constraints and budget issues. So being able to kind of tie all of that into some sort of automation is something that I would definitely suggest to anybody that's coming in and trying to learn how to automate their particular programs. Putting compliance at the forefront, kind of reporting to the board. These are kind of important things that we need to consider when we're building out a compliance program for a lot of the customers that we deal with today.
So one of the things that compliance officers really ask a lot of questions about is they get a report, they get some numbers, but they're not data scientists. And they're not really sure what that data might mean. How would you suggest a compliance officer begin to think through what does the data mean, or is that something that you could help them with?
So one of the things that we do when we implement a project here at GAN is that we actually work backwards and figure out the type of metrics that the team will eventually report on later on once the system is live. So being very clear on what we're capturing in terms of reporting, the type of data that they will need in order to execute and run their program on a day-to-day basis, ensuring that there's management reports that look at things not at an individual a transaction level, but kind of rolled up in a state where they can see the big picture, are crucial parts of keeping a program successful. And of course, because we capture so many different points of data and we have different connected modules, and there's just all sorts of stuff going on with whether it's third-party supplier training or due diligence or case plan and hot management, there's tons and tons of data in there. So being very clear on doing that is imperative in making sure that the program is successful. And we spend a lot of time in the beginning of the project making sure that we tease all of that out, making sure that everything is clear and concise.
Peter, you have used this phrase a couple of times, and I wanted to really focus in on it. What does it mean to take the GAN approach?
One of the most critical factors when implementing technology is ensuring that once the solution is deployed, that there's adoption of the software. And that basically means continued and expanded use of the software. So the GAN approach kind of encompasses not just the implementation part of the project, where we help the customer put together the program in the software and bring them live, right, so that they can use the software. But also making sure that there's account management and that there's training and there's continued adoption in the software. And we do that by ensuring that there's a single point of contact on the account that doesn't change. So we have a customer success manager that's assigned to every account, and they are responsible for the relationship with the account, not just from an account management perspective, but also ensuring that that there's any questions with the product, if there's any training needs that they need, because customers, people will change roles and people will move in and out of the company. New people will come in. They'll need training on the platform itself, what was done previously for that particular role. So our point of contact here will always stay stable to ensure that that training takes place, that new people that come into the organization understand what was built and how to use the system properly, so that it can continue to spread the gospel, if you will, on their end.
Peter, you said something there that really struck me, and that's used this phrase several times: continuous adoption. And I don't want to say you partner with your customers, but it sounds like you really help to work with the customers, not simply just on the implementation of the solution, but how the solution and the customer can grow and expand the compliance component or the compliance work that tool is doing. Would that be a fair statement?
Absolutely. And that's something that we strive to do, because one of the things that we definitely try to make sure that we have 100% retention rate. In order to be able to aim for something like that is to making sure that we stay relevant within the organization. So one of the things that we know not to do really is to deploy a piece of software and leave, right? And just say, basically, you're kind of off on your own. You can do whatever you want with it. And that's something that we work very hard to ensuring that we have continued coverage and support, not only from the software level, also from the account level, and partnering with them to ensure that as their compliance program grows, that we right-size the program for them. So in cases where, we have cases where we start with medium-sized companies who may, who may grow into bigger and bigger, compliance due diligence may become a bigger part of their program. And in those cases, we may help them right-size the program by making sure that if there's higher risk vendors may need additional view-ins or additional reports, that the software is configured properly so that they can get the additional reports that they need. And this is all part of continuously working with the customers and partnering with them to ensure that their programs are right-sized.
I really find that fascinating, Peter, because under the 10 hallmarks of an effective compliance program, guidance released by the Department of Justice and Securities and Exchange Commission, continuous improvement is a requirement. And I think most people are aware that the basic steps to get continuous improvement, but you guys really seem to have taken it to a completely different level where you're garnering continuous improvement by working from your perspective with a customer, or perhaps if I was sitting across the table from you with a vendor to actually continuously improve the compliance programs. That's a really a fascinating insight.
Yeah, no, and that's something that doesn't always come very easy. I think for some of our customers, they actually want to improve on their program. So some customers is easier than others, whereas others, I think, it requires a little bit more education, that they do need to be right-sized and that there are other benefits and functions, and, whether it's within the software or through a partner or through one of their own partners that we're not working with to help them improve their program. So we've worked with other customers who's been under monitorship from the Justice Department, and we work with them to help them right-size their programs. And it has nothing to do with the software itself. So it's really working at the needs of the customers and what's meaningful and valuable for the customers at that point in time.
Peter, I must say, unfortunately, we're near the end of our time, but I must say I now understand why your title is Head of Customer Success. This has just been a fascinating exploration, and thank you again for taking the time to visit with me.
Thank you so much, Tom.
This is Tom Fox again. I'd like to thank you for listening to this episode of the special 5-part podcast series on how tech informs compliance to create business efficiency, sponsored by GAN Integrity. I hope you'll join me again for another episode tomorrow. This 5-part podcast series on how tech informs compliance to create business efficiency has been a special presentation of the Compliance Podcast Network.